At exactly 12:07 a.m., the hospital floor was quieter than it had been all day. The fluorescent lights hummed softly, machines blinked in steady rhythms, and the hallway smelled faintly of disinfectant and stale coffee. Dr. Michael Harris paused outside room 417, his hand resting on a clipboard, his mind already tired after a 16-hour shift at St. Anne's Medical Center in Ohio. He had one last chart to review before heading home. That was when he heard it, a soft, broken sound, almost swallowed by the walls. Someone was crying. Inside room 417 lay Eleanor Whitman, a 72-year-old retired school librarian from Cleveland. She had been admitted 3 days earlier with advanced heart failure. During the day, she was polite, calm, even cheerful with the nurses. Her family, her daughter Lisa and son-in-law Mark, visited every evening, bringing flowers, sharing hopeful smiles, and promising they'd be back tomorrow. But now, in the middle of the night, Eleanor was alone, her thin shoulders shaking as quiet tears rolled down her cheeks. Dr. Harris knocked gently before stepping in. "Mrs. Whitman," he said softly. Eleanor tried to wipe her face, embarrassed. "I'm sorry, doctor. I didn't mean to make noise." "You didn't," he replied, pulling a chair closer to her bed. "I was just walking by. Do you want to tell me what's wrong?" For a moment, she hesitated. Then the words came spilling out, heavy with fear. She wasn't afraid of pain. She wasn't afraid of dying. She was afraid of being a burden. Afraid her daughter would remember her only as a hospital patient instead of the woman who used to read bedtime stories and bake apple pies on Sundays. Afraid of dying alone at night, surrounded by machines instead of family. Dr. Harris listened. He didn't interrupt. He didn't check his watch. He just listened. Michael Harris hadn't always been this calm. Years earlier, during his residency in Chicago, he'd lost his own mother in a hospital room not unlike this one. He'd been on call, stuck in surgery, when she passed away alone. That guilt never fully left him. It followed him into every late-night shift, every quiet hallway. "I can't promise miracles," he said finally. "But I can promise you won't be alone tonight." Eleanor looked at him, surprised. "Doctors don't say things like that." "I do," he replied, standing up. "Try to get some rest." What Eleanor didn't know was that Dr. Harris quietly changed his schedule. He asked a nurse to hold his calls unless urgent. He pulled a spare chair into her room and sat just outside the curtain, reviewing charts, listening to the steady beeping of her monitor. Every so often, he peeked in to make sure she was sleeping. At 2:30 a.m., Eleanor woke up disoriented, panic rising in her chest. Before she could call for help, Dr. Harris was there, gently holding her hand, guiding her through slow breaths until the fear passed. "You stayed," she whispered. "I told you I would," he said. By morning, Eleanor was exhausted but peaceful. When Lisa arrived later that day, she immediately noticed the difference. Her mother looked calmer, her eyes brighter. "What happened?" Lisa asked. Eleanor smiled. "Your doctor happened." Lisa found Dr. Harris at the nurse's station and thanked him, assuming he'd simply adjusted medication. He nodded politely, never mentioning the night. For him, it was just what needed to be done. Over the next week, Eleanor's condition worsened. Decisions had to be made, difficult, painful ones. Lisa struggled with guilt, unsure whether she was doing the right thing for her mother. Every conversation felt like it carried the weight of a lifetime. One evening, after a particularly hard discussion about comfort care, Lisa broke down in the hallway. Dr. Harris happened to walk by. "You don't have to be strong all the time," he told her gently. "Loving someone means making the hardest choices when they can't." Those words stayed with her. Eleanor passed away peacefully 2 nights later, just after midnight. This time, she wasn't alone. Dr. Harris was there again, quietly monitoring her, adjusting her pillows, holding her hand as her breathing slowed. He called Lisa immediately afterward and waited with her until she arrived, giving the family privacy and dignity. At the small memorial service a week later, Lisa stood in front of friends and relatives, holding a folded piece of paper. Her voice trembled as she read. "This is for Dr. Michael Harris," she said. "The doctor who sat with my mother when no one else could. The doctor who treated her like a person, not a case." Dr. Harris hadn't planned to attend. But when Lisa found him afterward, tears in her eyes, she handed him a framed photo. It was Eleanor, years younger, smiling in her library, surrounded by books. "She wanted you to have this," Lisa said. "She said you reminded her of the kind of man the world needs more of." For the first time in years, Dr. Harris cried openly. Not from grief, but from release. From knowing that, this time, he had stayed. So why does this story matter? Because in a world obsessed with speed, productivity, and titles, it's the quiet acts we don't post about that change lives. A chair pulled closer. A hand held at midnight. A promise kept. If this story moved you even a little, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Stories like these deserve to be shared, not for views, but to remind us who we can be for each other.